What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, we're talking FPL Watchlist for Game Week 29. That is a blank game week. There's only 4 fixtures, 8 teams playing, and there's a few injuries from the weekend if you hadn't already noticed. So in this one, it's going to be a little bit different. I'm looking at potential replacements in each different position: defence, midfield and forward, and who the kind of main targets will be. So there's a variety of players in this one to talk about. So if you enjoy it, please do give it a like, hit subscribe if you're new around here, and let's jump into it. So just a couple of points first, right? First of all, I know that the replacements that I'm going to talk about in this video are not all necessarily going to be injured for Game Week 29. Right now, they're flagged and potentially they will be out, which is why I'm looking at watch list players that could replace them. But obviously, if they're not, there's still other players that I can replace in my team. And I've got 2 free transfers. So if all 3 of the replacements are fit, brilliant. I've still got 2 transfers to use, and the players on the watch list will be top of my list for that as well. Whether or not I free hit, I don't know yet. I'm going to have a free hit draft video out later this week anyway, regardless. And obviously, if I free hit, I'll have a video about that as well. So don't panic about that. I know a lot of people are looking for that. But let's talk watch list first. So Davern went off at half-time against Southampton. Hamstring injury. Now, sometimes these can be minor and you can be back very quickly. I've just got a feeling it's not going to be the case for him. I've already kind of told myself he'll almost certainly be out. So straight-up replacement, probably like for like, is Veltman. Now, I know a lot of people will be screaming, why not Dunk? Why not Dunk? Obviously, he's just scored against Southampton, so that helps his, helps the plea from everyone to go for him. But for me, the reason that I went for Burn in the first place, because he was so cheap, right? And you look at those fixtures for Brighton, Newcastle at home, really good. I think it's one of the best fixtures of the blank game week, to be honest, especially for a defence. Then it's Man United away, Everton at home, Chelsea away. So I'm not looking to play this player that often outside of Game Week 29. Brighton's fixtures are not that great. This is almost like they're getting dragged into a relegation fight they shouldn't be in. Newcastle at home is almost a must-win at this point. So that is a huge fixture. But after that, it gets a little bit more difficult. Veltman is only 0.1 million more. And I think in terms of attacking threat, I'm not sure Dunk is massively more attacking than Veltman, to be honest. And Veltman has assist potential as well. So I think if I'm just looking to play them in Game Week 29 specifically, why would I pay the 0.6 million more? I would just hope that Veltman outscores him or even matches him for less money. And then going forward, I've got a player in my squad that's quite cheap and I can just afford to bench him most weeks. So Veltman's definitely right near the top of my list, I would say. I think Brighton defence is good. Look, you can talk about whether they've been unlucky or not, but for whatever reason, they keep finding a way to concede goals. But I just think a Newcastle team, to be fair, look quite good against Villa at times, but still, I would always back Brighton in this case to have a good chance at a clean sheet. So Veltman's definitely at the top of my list. Then Dawson. Now, I think even if Burn was fit, I would still look at bringing Dawson in. Obviously not, I wouldn't replace Dan Burn, but I would replace one of my other defenders that doesn't play this week. West Ham defence, one of the best in the league so far. If you go and look at expected goals conceded on FB Ref, West Ham are in the top 5, I think, for expected goals conceded per game. And the fixtures they got coming up are pretty good. Their season running is decent. And I'm not trying to emphasise it too much, but one thing that I am kind of conscious of is teams that have got stuff to play for. And West Ham have got a massive chance of getting a European spot. That's huge. Dawson has been a mainstay in that team since he came into the side. Arguably, he has improved them as well. One of the probably the under the radar signings of the season, to be honest. He's only 4.5 million. Yes, Arsenal at home is not necessarily an ideal fixture like Newcastle at home is in Game Week 29, but long term, there's way more times that I would look to play him, and we know that he has goal threat from set pieces as well, albeit the wrong way around against Man United last night, but going forward still good as well. So you'd obviously hope that he can get something against Arsenal, and if not, it's Wolves away, who from an attacking point of view are just not scoring a huge amount of goals. So I think that's a good defensive fixture. Leicester's difficult, then Newcastle's a bit easier as well. So I really like Dawson, and he is someone that I will look to bring in regardless of whether Burn is injured or not, to be honest. I think long term, Sofao is an option as well, but I just think in this case I would probably back Dawson from corners and set pieces than I would from Sofao from open play to get attack and returns. I don't think he's a bad option, but Dawson's just a little bit higher on my list, and Cresswell is just too expensive for me, I think, so I can't really go there. And the other option is Konza. Right now, his fixtures aren't as good. Spurs at home, is okay-ish, right? Fulham at home is pretty decent, but then Liverpool away, Man City at home is not good, right? Not from a defensive point of view. But he has the advantage that he has an outside shot at a double game week. And now that double game week will happen. They have to rearrange that fixture. It will be in another week where they've got another team to play. So they will have a double. We just don't know when it will be yet. And it could be in game week 30. And if it is, Fulham at home and then Everton to play as well, could be pretty decent. The only thing for me is that would mean a double up on Villa defence. And I feel like they've got a really good keeper in Martinez, really good shot stopper, but I don't think their defence is looking as good recently as we think it is. I think they've maybe been a bit fortunate to keep as many clean sheets as they had. It's still a good defence, but I don't think it's as good as the amount of clean sheets they get. And obviously Martinez, you've got to put that down to him a little bit. But will he get those saves every single game? At some point, he's probably going to slip up. And the goals start going in. So long term, I don't know if I want that double up. But if we found out that the game week 30 double was happening, then a game in 29 plus a double game week to come, I don't think a double up is out of the question. And at 4.6 million, Konza still looks good. And a bit like Dawson, very, very good from set pieces, right? So they're the kind of players that I would target if they're the right price, right? Dunk is just that little bit more. And I don't think I want to spend the money on it. So Dan Burn replacement. So I think Veltman is the best for game week 29, but beyond that, I actually think Dawson might be the one. So Son's injury is apparently muscular, and Mourinho says it's just difficult to judge how long that will be, but he is pretty good at recovering quickly. And we saw that earlier, right, in the season when he had that injury, and it was like, will he or won't he play? And he ended up playing. I think that was actually a hamstring injury. So there is a chance Son will still play, but either way, I want to look at midfielder replacements because, which I'll talk about in a video probably later on this week, the Man City fixture pile-up is not looking good at all from an FPL perspective. If they go through in the Champions League, I don't think a bad strategy would be to possibly offload Man City players. And as much as I've just brought in De Bruyne, I don't even think he is completely safe. So even if Son is fit, I possibly will look to make a midfielder change anyway this week. So first up is Lingard. Now, I just had West Ham's fixtures up a little bit better. I think I put Wolves as green, but I think from a attacking perspective, it's got to be orange, right? So the way I've tried to colour code this is in terms of whether it's a midfielder like this, so you're looking at it from a defensive point of view for the opposition, and then for the defenders, I've looked at it from how good they are from an attacking point of view. And Wolves aren't necessarily great going forward, but they're still a pretty solid defence. So the next three fixtures for Lingard, Arsenal, Wolves and Leicester, are not that great. And I know people are really hot on him right now because he scored, what was it, like 4 out of 5 first matches or something like that? Or he scored 4 goals in 5 matches, something like that. But you look at that Villa game in particular, where he got 2 goals, and I just talked about how, maybe Villa's defence isn't quite as good as we think. Martinez does stop quite a few shots. He didn't in that game. Shot straight at him, which in another game he saves easily. And suddenly we're chalking 2 goals off of Lingard. I think he's played really well. I don't want to take anything away from him. I think he has added to that West Ham side, and they are a better side for him in it. I can't talk properly. But I think in terms of an FPL option for lots of goal threat, lots of assist threat, I don't think it's actually as good as people are making out. And I don't think the fixtures are that great. That Newcastle fixture stands out. And then longer term, towards the end of the season, West Ham's fixtures are quite good. And he's obviously a great price, right? 6.1 million. Yeah, maybe he could come in for Gundogan. But if I thought that Gundogan was going to keep playing, he's definitely a better option, and the same with Son. So Lingard he's on the watch list because I think he is getting the points. I'm just not massively convinced that he's going to keep getting those points, right? So I think he's playing well, but from an FPL perspective, sometimes that happens. They're just not as good as they maybe look on the pitch. Maybe I got that wrong. I know a lot of people like him, but he's on the watch list, and I will consider him, but I think there's potentially better options, one of which is Bale, although when you're looking at per 90 stats, which I do quite a lot, right? So I've looked at Lingard's per 90 XG, which is okay, nothing special. Obviously, with Bale, you've got to take into account or factor in that he doesn't play 90 minutes, right? He came off at 57 minutes against Arsenal, and I felt that Bale did a lot of tracking back in the previous games, right? Did it against Fulham, Burnley, Crystal Palace, but in hindsight, it's probably easier to track those players back. For one, you don't have to do it as often because you're attacking more. And two, obviously, the players aren't necessarily at the quality of the Arsenal players, and Tierney in particular had such a good time down Arsenal's left up against Bale and Doherty, because he was basically left one-on-one with Doherty all the time, and I think that's one of the reasons that Bale got hooked off. So the fact that he got rested in the Europa League shows that he is important to Mourinho going forward in attack. And Aston Villa away again, I don't think it's that bad of a fixture in 29. Then it's Newcastle. Man United is difficult enough, but Everton's defence hasn't been watertight either. We saw him concede a couple of goals against Burnley, for example, recently. So I think the fixtures are quite good for Spurs, and I still like Bale, even though he's not playing 90. But it does worry me a little bit of how much they're having to protect him. And obviously, Mourinho is not going to be happy with the way that Arsenal game went at all. I don't think he's now going to suddenly just take Bale out of the side. Because I think he just offers so much more than anyone else that can play in that position for them. But it is a little bit of a worry that he keeps coming off early. I feel if it just feels like if he's not got anything by the 60th minute, you're probably not expecting anything. Whereas with Kane and Son, etc., you know they're playing pretty much 90 minutes when they're fit, week in, week out. So Bale's still on the watch list. If Son was out, it's probably the easiest replacement, just to go straight to Bale, have him for those games. Obviously, they also have a fixture to rearrange. So there is a double game week coming up. And if he can stay fit, at least he's getting 60 to 70 minutes. But is that enough? That's the only doubt in my mind. And then Grealish, we keep hearing from Dean Smith, he might be back next week. He's not fit for this week. He might be back for next week. And the same is being said for this week, right? And if he's back again, he's got an extra fixture to rearrange. I'm going to keep on talking about it. Spurs at home is fairly difficult, but Grealish makes such a big, or has such a big impact on that Aston Villa team. Like right now, if I had Watkins, I wouldn't be worried because he's still getting chances, but I would be not as happy to have him for Spurs at home as I would if Grealish was in the team, because he just creates so many chances. So if Dean Smith passed him fit, and he did say last week he was getting better, I think he was pain-free and has started training again. If he's available for this game, and he got that Fulham at home game, I know Liverpool away and Man City at home are difficult, but at this point, he's a massive differential that's been posting really good numbers all season in terms of assist threat, and he has a little bit of goal threat himself too. Probably around the same as Lingard, to be honest, but he has all those assists to throw in as well for not that much more money at 7.5 million. So a lot of that, I must admit, with Everton and Villa players, a lot of it is riding on when that double game week is, because one of the things for my team, right, with my watch list, I only have one player from Villa and Everton. So if they suddenly get a double game week, I'm kind of screwed. So that's one of the reasons I'm looking at possibly putting some Villa players in, even though Liverpool away and Man City at home in game weeks 31 and 32 are not ideal. So they're probably the three main targets for Son. Hopefully he's fit, but if not, I think Gareth Bale is probably the most direct replacement, and at some point he is going to get me an extra fixture as well. Okay, next up, Bamford replacements. Now, I will say out of all the players I'm talking about, he is the one that I'm most kind of hopeful of being able to play in game week 29, because it looked like a bit more of an impact injury, whereas Son pulled up off the ball. For Bamford, it was definitely an impact, so hopefully he'll be back. Again, we'll have to wait and see later on in the week. Potential replacements I'm looking at, I won't bore you with all the Aston Villa double game week stuff again, but that's one of the reasons Watkins on the list. If he didn't have that potential, I don't know if I'd be looking at that heavily. I actually don't think there's too many other strikers that are cheap that I massively, definitely want in my team right now. So this move is not one that I really want to make. And also, Bamford is playing Sheffield United at home in game week 30, and that looks like a great fixture. Their defence is awful. But Watkins is on there. Madger is an interesting one, because I think Leeds at home, again, one of the best defences you can play. I know when I talked about Leeds for captaincy last week in terms of Chelsea players captaining them against Leeds, their defence had improved slightly, but over the season, they're almost as bad as West Brom. So that fixture looks really good. And Madger himself, his underlying numbers, his XG per 90, are really high. They're at Bamford levels for earlier in the season. They're 0.61, which is crazy good. Now, that is a small sample size, but he has played 6 or 7 games for Fulham now. I know he got rested in the last one, but hopefully that was just a rest, because I think he's been so good, they can't afford but to let him keep playing, basically. And his numbers are good from the previous seasons as well, albeit that was in Ligue 1 in France, right? But it looks promising. And he's cheap as well, 5.5 million, so it would let me take some money off of my bench, because essentially, like most people right now, I still have 8 attackers. So I think that looks a good fixture. Villa away is not bad. Then it's Wolves at home at Arsenal away. So they're not quite as good. And Fulham blank in game week 33. So that is worth considering. But after that, their running includes Burnley, Southampton, Newcastle in the last 4 fixtures. So probably don't want to be looking that far ahead yet. But as a player to potentially keep on your bench and just play in the good fixtures, I don't think Madra is that bad of an option at all. It's just whether or not he can keep those numbers up, because it's always dangerous to buy a player based on small sample sizes, right? Because they might not keep it up. But I think Fulham are playing well going forward, and he is going to get chances. Like, I'm not putting him in expecting hat tricks every week, that's for sure. But the odd goal here or there and a few bonus points absolutely would be nice for 5.5 million. And like I said, would let me take some money out of my team as well, which I'm quite looking forward to doing, to be honest, because I think it's going to be needed for the running. And then we got Morpay, right? He's not on here as a joke. He's not on here as a joke. Brighton create a lot of chances. We know that. Yes, they're not putting them away. Yes, you could say that Morpay is a bad finisher, but I like the fact that he gets into so many good positions. I like that Newcastle fixture, and I don't even think the Everton one is one to be afraid of too much either. Man United away and Chelsea away are not great, but again, thinking back to my team, right, I've got it on another screen here just to look at. If I put Morpay in, then again, I've got 8 attackers. So in game week 30, for example, when he plays Man United away, I can bench him. I can play Antonio against Wolves away. I can play Rafinha against Sheffield United at home. I don't have to worry about playing him that week, right? So one thing I'll definitely do is go onto the transfer planner on livefpl.net and see how my team looks every week by putting these players in and then working it out from there. And I do still have my free hit available. So if I don't use it in 29, it doesn't matter that Madra blanks in game week 33 because I could use it there instead. So I must admit, out of all the positions I've talked about, this one I feel like is the least likely to be an issue because I'm hopeful that Bamford will be fine. It's also the one where I'm less confident about the players to bring in. But if I was free hitting, I think Madra and Morpay would have a good chance of being in. It's difficult because if Bamford was fit, you also have to fit Kane in, right? There's no way I would free hit and go without Kane. But I think Leeds at home and Newcastle at home are both really good fixtures for Madra and Morpay. And I would consider both. And I know people will hate the Morpay pick, but I think for a one-off shot against Newcastle, it's not a bad bet. And I don't think Welbeck is either, to be honest. But that's it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Please do hit the like button and hit subscribe if you're new around here as well. And leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think of the watch list. Who should be top of it? I know that you'll hate Morpay, so maybe just comment on the other 8 players as well. I'll have loads more content this week, including a free hit draft later on in the week, and obviously the usual game week preview, team selection, deadline streams, captaincy, and all that good stuff. So make sure you are subscribed. And a big shout out to everyone that's signed up on patreon.com/Let's Talk FPL. Loads of perks and benefits over there if you want to go and check them out and you want to support me and the channel a little bit further. Link in the description below. I'll leave that one there and I'll be back tomorrow with another video. Thanks for watching and I'll see you soon.